Hi everyone, this is Darren with SimNation. Just doing a quick preview for the championship game that will run tomorrow night in the WWPF, which pits Invisible Witnesses Carolina Panthers against my Pittsburgh Steelers. If you look at these are both the number one seeds in the playoffs from their respective conferences. We'll start with Pittsburgh and just talk about them real quick. You see Pittsburgh pretty decent during the regular season. They did lose to the Jets. Of course, they lost Invisible and his Panthers by, ironically, the same score that Maryland beat Auburn by. But then they lost to Tennessee, and since then they haven't lost, beating Tennessee in a rematch and beating the New York Jets in a rematch. And maybe this will be the same trend line. Maybe they beat Carolina in a rematch. I'm less hopeful for that. For Carolina, the big thing for them is going to be forcing Thomas Pierce to throw the ball. Pittsburgh is at its best when they are running the ball and are able to establish a rushing game behind Leroy London and Michael Lackey. Pierce, while being a capable quarterback, has struggled when he's forced to throw the ball a lot. As you see, he's getting older, but he's not a short passer. He's a medium to long passer. He's also in the final year of his deal. But as you can also see, he has had a distinguished career at Pittsburgh, where largely they use him because he doesn't make a ton of mistakes. But the key here will be to force him to throw the ball more, because if Pittsburgh is able to establish the run with Leroy London, who is the fastback, Lackey, who's just a legend in the league, second all-time rusher, top in rushing touchdowns. If those two can get started, Pittsburgh's going to have a relatively easier time controlling the clock, which will be their goal. They've got to control the clock. But this may be a case where they've got to throw to open up the run. You see here they do have good wide receivers. Deal, Plummer, and Tolliver are really good wide receivers. They can get space and get open. They're fast. They're agile. Plummer has struggled with dropping the ball. Hopefully he doesn't do a lot of that, but they match up fairly well against the secondary of Carolina. On the defensive side of the ball, what you're going to notice really quick is both teams are going to bring it. They're going to go after each other from a pressure perspective. So as much as Carolina needs to get to Thomas Pierce, Pittsburgh needs to be able to block the running lanes and get pressure on Ron Baker. And I'll show you Ron in a second. But a lot of Pittsburgh's pressure does come from its line, specifically their defensive ends. Newton and Franks are really good. McLemore's a backup who's seen a lot of playing time. But you can't lose sight of Adam Lyons, who is traditionally playing at outside linebacker, but does play inside sometimes, because he's going to come after you, and he's a tackling machine. Neither team, I think, will be picking off a lot of passes. There's going to be a lot of pass defenses in this one. Specialist-wise, both teams have really good specialists. I'm not going to probably go into a lot, but Barnes and Clark are two of the best in the league. You'll hear the same thing when I talk about Carolina. So for Pittsburgh to win, it's really going to come down to they've got to get the ball to the wide receivers. They've got to open that run game up and not let Invisible and his Carolina Panthers just shut down the running game. Now, they get a lift in getting Gandy back from injury. Also, Deal is back as well. That's going to help them with playing this out. But if we look at Carolina, Carolina's key to winning this game is to be able to establish the run, keep Baker upright, and stop Pittsburgh's rushing attack. They do those three things, they win this game really easily. So when we look at this, you see Ron Baker, who's had a really good season, only 2 interceptions the whole season. Irony here is Thomas Pierce is from Auburn, Ron Baker's from Maryland. So Invisible's got a Maryland quarterback on his roster, which is my college team. And then, of course, Thomas Pierce is from Auburn, who is Invisible Witness's college team. So Baker is very capable of throwing the ball. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. This is a relatively high sack percentage. So Pittsburgh should be able to get pressure on them, and if they can get pressure, they may be able to make mistakes, or at least cause drives to end. The rushing attack of Carolina is really, really good. I think Pittsburgh's going to struggle in trying to stop this, especially Maurice Edwards, because Maurice has traditionally done very, very good at just running people over. So, and you see his 29 touchdowns. He's on pace to easily break Lackey's touchdown record. He's only in like his 4th or 5th season out of the University of Michigan. Both teams have University of Michigan running backs. Pittsburgh's Leroy London versus Maurice Edwards. Colwell is a really good backup. I think he came over from LA via free agency, whereas like Ron Baker came over from Denver via free agency. So he's got really good running backs. His receivers, he tends to favor Schumacher, but you have to keep an eye on Maddox as well. Maddox can really, really hurt you if he gets in open space. Same with Null. On defense, it's similar to Pittsburgh. You're not going to see a lot of interceptions. You're going to see a lot of sacks, a lot of hurries. Both of these teams are really good at getting into the backfield. Carolina probably arguably better because with Rainey, Martinez, Bohm, and Coates, they have people who will hurry the quarterback pretty consistently. Secondary-wise, again, really good, strong secondaries on both sides. Barlow's a guy who, and Barreto are going to be two people who can create a lot of problems. And then you also have Coleman that Pittsburgh's going to have to account for. And then, like I said, the kicking game, Artis is probably one of the best punters right now. And then you see Stuart Taylor, while having less field goals than Pittsburgh's kicker, he's only missed one the whole season. And that one, the one was a closer one field goal, a short field goal, as opposed to long. So the key for both teams is they've got to be able to stop the run. Then they got to force the other team to pass, and then it'll be coming down to their ability to either create turnovers or get sacks. I think whichever team does that better is the team that's going to win this one. And then just like what I was talking about here, we'll just show you this. From a receiver perspective, what you see here is relatively fast wide receivers. They are short-handed. Excuse me. You got two agile ones in Null and in Zimmel. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, they know their position pretty well. And then if you look at the cornerback core that he's got speed in the cornerbacks as well. Barreto's a guy to keep an eye on if he wants to negate speedsters. But otherwise, all of his cornerbacks are really good at being able to cover people. At safety, again, this is one of those where he has really good safeties as well. Same thing with free safety. In fact, Coleman he's a handful to deal with because he can play both in space and in the box. So that's going to make life really hard on Pittsburgh when you talk about their receiving core. What you see here is they've got speed. You can understand why Plummer's seeing so many snaps. You'll probably see Wells in this game a little bit more than usual because they're going to try to use him to potentially go long. But Dior is a very consistent presence for the Steelers. Tolliver is also very consistent. They've got size, which is why they'll in over people like Wells, who's relatively short. Also look for Pittsburgh to use their tight ends. They do have some decent tight ends in Phelps, who I think is finally fully healthy. And then in the secondary, you'll notice that Pittsburgh has the speed to match Carolina. The problem is, do they have the agility? These guys haven't played overly well. Elbert Banks and Dominic Burke probably are going to be the ones you see the most of because of their speed, but don't discount Bernier either. And then Pittsburgh is blessed with having really, really good, strong safeties. Whitfield normally is the one that plays. Chin is normally playing in the secondary somewhere. But if you're going to stop the run, Whitfield may be the guy who, does, instead of starting, ends up playing in certain packages and plays closer to the line in order to try to stop that run. Free safety, it all starts and ends with Asbury, who is the heart and soul of this defense and has been for 9 seasons. He is very, very good. His speed is starting to drop off, but that can be picked up by Goggins. So it should be a really, really strong game between the two. I do think that Carolina is going to win this one by at least 2 touchdowns. And again, I will stream the game tomorrow night, Friday, probably around 8. And it should just be fun to watch. I think Invisible will get his revenge for the SNCFL title in that game. So we'll talk to you then. Hope you like this video, but just want to give you a quick preview of the game tomorrow.